Hello and happy Wednesday, everybody. It's time to get wise. Welcome to another Wise Wednesday. Today, I'm so excited about our special guest today. But for those of y'all that don't know me as of yet, I am Tony King. I have the distinguished honor of being the designated broker for eXp Realty here in Texas. Which is, of course, the largest real estate brokerage in Texas. So we're excited about that. And we come to you every single week with incredible talent, incredible guests, some of the most incredible communicators that we have the opportunity to get a hold of and twist arms in order to get them here. So today is no exception to that. As y'all know, we are in our luxury series, and it's all about luxury. We're going deep. We had Elizabeth Riley, Queen Elizabeth, as I called her last week, and she went deep, and we're going to go even deeper going forward with Mr. Michael Lafido. So for those of you that don't know Michael, I won't belabor all of his incredible accomplishments. I'll let him speak for himself. But Michael, please introduce yourself.
Hey, thanks so much for the opportunity. And I know you've had some incredible guests on with Jay Kinder and Elizabeth Riley. So I'm honored to be in that company. So as you mentioned, my name is Michael Lafido. I am the author of the book Luxury Specialist, and I've written a lot of courses for various organizations, and I help agents, team leaders, and broker owners increase their average sale price and really dive deeper in those upper price points. I think luxury is all relative, right? Texas is a huge state, and you have some very rural areas where they might not have $1 million big McMansions, but I do believe luxury is all relative. So we'll go into that today as well.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for that. And I want to, I always start with a question about gratitude. So what is it that you're most grateful for right now?
It's a great question. Uh, I'm a D in the driver, right? Disc personality. I'm a D. I'm all about, getting better and working hard. And sometimes the D's biggest faults are, smelling the roses and sitting back to, hey, what you have to be thankful for. And so, I probably a canned response, but I'm very thankful for, my family. I have three amazing kids and a beautiful wife, and we just went to a college football game yesterday, and just having the opportunity to see them grow. And Facebook shares these throwback memories and seeing where they are and seeing where they were, and it's something that I'm thankful for, and that's my big why, Tony.
It's great.
When the market gets you down, or you have that difficult client, and we get kicked in the shins in this industry, and that's not fun. You step on those Legos as a parent, that's not fun. And that's sometimes what this industry is a lot about. There's a lot of turbulence, and being focused on the prize, being focused on the destination is what keeps me positive and keeps me moving.
Absolutely. So always got to start with the positive why, for sure, and that's what's going to pull you through those tough times. So that may be where we begin, right? Starting with that why. So tell us about what it was that kind of led you into this luxury niche that you've really kind of dominated nationwide.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So I have, I'll show you. We're in the show and tell industry, and so literally in uh, 2000, 2012, I had a gentleman who was in charge of ERA franchise systems, and he worked with top 50 ERA offices in the country. And unbeknownst to me, and he passed away, a great man, his name was Jeff Rebar. And Jeff called me out of the blue. Unbeknownst to me, Jeff had bought a product that I don't sell anymore. It's been 10 years since I've sold it, but it was called the Ultimate Listing Blueprint. It was a bunch of DVDs and CDs, Tony, $500 product. And one of my modules in there was how I get 8% listings in a 5% market. I'm based in the Chicagoland market. And so Jeff loved the content, and he made the introduction and to a top luxury agent and broker. And I thought she was just going to call me to recruit me, and she did, but she also wanted me to help her, with her branding, because unfortunately, she kind of discounted herself and her fees when I think she didn't have to, because her track record spoke for herself. So I started coaching her, working with her office a little bit. And that was in the town of Hinsdale, Illinois. And there's more $1 million single family sales in Hinsdale, Illinois than any other town in Illinois. It's always Winnetka and Hinsdale, 1 and 2 each year. I mean, former Chicago Blackhawks coach was based there, former Bulls coach. So again, to use Dallas, it's like South Lake or West Lake or Highland Park, right? To use
Right.
Houston, it's like the Woodlands. It's a very exclusive upper end area. And so I picked up and switched brokerages and started coaching her office. And quickly I realized that it just wasn't her, but there were other top luxury agents that lacked a lot of the branding and the marketing and building a business. So I literally I made the shift from more leads, more listings, more closings, and taking a lot of those same concepts because we launched our own luxury brand being based in that market. And I literally had chamber members, people coming up to me like, where did you come from? Like, and we just started really listing a lot of high-end properties and marketing some of these properties. So that was in 2013, 14, Tony. And we made the shift from really focusing on entry and average price properties, as well as me coaching agents on marketing, to saying, hey, there was a big void in the industry that was needed around luxury. And again, there are other luxury trainers, coaches out there, but they're usually on the West Coast or East Coast where the McMansions are plentiful. Where in the Chicagoland market, we were a buyer's market for a decade in that $1 million plus price point. I mean, you didn't want to take on another listing because it would just sit there, it would be stale. And so it was really out of necessity that we had to be creative and outside the box to get our property sold. And so we packaged up those systems and interviewed other agents. And then, a few years later in 2016, we launched our designation. So 3 years later.
That's great. That's great. So you've been doing this a long time. You've been really keyed into the luxury market and almost, perfected it. So let me ask you first off, as we kind of jump right in here, what are some of the most common myths that you see or that you hear as it relates to getting into the luxury side of the house?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So there are a lot of myths about luxury, um, and I'd like to step back before that. And I got a slide I want to share with you here, um, and because Tony, what is a luxury home, right? Now, uh, every luxury division defines a luxury differently. So on my slide here, I want to share with you whenever you're ready. Uh, you can share on your end, I believe. So these are the 4 primary price points in most markets. Now, I call them buckets, Tony, to keep it really simple. So every market has an average price point. You can find that out through your multiple listing service, your real estate board, a title company. And so that's what I call bucket number 2. It's a good place to start. And so most agents, they focus on bucket number 1 and 2, starter homes or entry level and average. And so my goal for agents is to diversify your portfolio. If here we are in November of 2022, if an agent were to look back over the last year to November of 2021 to this year and look at how many homes they represented, buy side or sale side, both sides, let's just say 20, if you were to take those 20 sales, 80 to 90% of them would fall into these 4 buckets. Now, the 5th bucket is what I call ultra luxury, which we define as a home that's 10 times that average sale price. So if the average sale price, Tony, keep it simple, is 400 grand, bucket number 2 is 400. And I like to say, about a third of that and below is what we call entry level. So a third of 400,000, doing the math real quick, is about 120 grand. So 280 and below that is entry level. Okay. And 520 and above that is that big bucket number 3 is what we call high end. Okay. So, and then luxury. So my point is 80% of the homes that agents watching and listening to this have sold over the last year fall into these buckets. And there's a little exercise I'd like them to do. And so as your goal setting for 2023, one of your goals should be to add more sales into bucket 3, 4, and that 5th bucket that's not pictured, the ultra luxury, is working smarter, not harder, right? So if you're in a capping model, which you are, most of your listeners are, they can cap sooner, right? Working smarter, not harder. They can And so that's one of my goals for agents, but you really need to know how we define luxury. And this definition is going to look very similar. As many of you know, EXP launched a luxury division recently, and they define luxury as 3 times the average sale price. That's bucket number 4. And I've been teaching this model for since 2016 when we launched our designation. So I want to make sure we define that, because a rural area in Texas might not have $1 million homes, but their average sale price might be 180. 180 times 3, okay? Now you're looking at around 550 to 600. That would be luxury in that market. So I wanted to cover that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you for that. And I think that that is key. And that might turn some viewers or some listeners off when they're thinking, oh, we're talking million and up and so on. It doesn't necessarily have to be that. Yes, that's in the subject line. That's
Yeah,
to get people to click on it, right? But the
correct.
reality is, it may not specifically be a million and up property. So thanks for helping to define that. So,
Yeah,
um,
and I mean, um, I believe the fastest way for agents, and I have a slide up here if you want to share that. I believe the fastest way for agents to get instant credibility from their database and their sphere and people that know them, like them, trust them, Tony. Matter of fact, people that don't even know them that well. I can't tell you how many people know that I'm in real estate that I don't even know, right? I mean, that's the goal. You want to be like the mayor of your city, right? Like when you want to be the news outlet as far as how is the real estate market, Tony. You want to control the narrative versus ABC, NBC, Fox, whatever. You want to be the narrative and the local market on how real estate is. And so, like, literally, you'll have people that come up to you at your kids' ball games or at the supermarket, like, wow, oh, saw you had that great listing. And you're thinking, wait, who are these people? But you'll attract more opportunities and more conversations, I believe, when you have some of those upper price point sales, whether you represent the buy side and the sale side. So that's something that I wanted to make sure we covered.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, as long as you've been doing this, I'm sure you've heard every excuse in the book, right? Well, and I think you've already defined why luxury is so important, and how agents can leverage the luxury niche in order to achieve their goals much faster, right? Work smarter, not harder. But I'm sure you've also heard every excuse in the book in terms of why you shouldn't do a luxury real estate, or what are the most common myths that you hear,
Yeah,
Michael?
and I have these on the screen right now for you. So I call them limiting beliefs, but I would call these the biggest misconceptions that agents have about selling luxury. Number one is you need to be a top producing agent or have gray hair or be licensed X amount of years before you can sell luxury. That's false. You personally need to be wealthy or come from wealth to sell luxury. False. Or you need to live in that gated community or live in, Highland Park in Dallas or South Lake or Westlake or in Woodlands or wherever it is in Austin or some of these other markets. Those are all false. You got to drive that Maserati. False. You personally need to be with a certain office. That's false. I tell this story all the time, Tony. So last July of 2021, I was on a listing appointment, and it was a former CEO of Office Max. It was a $3 million appointment. I got the call from him late. He had already interviewed a couple agents, and I knew I was switching offices at the time for my team. I run a small team here in the Chicagoland market. I'm with EXP. And at the time, he said, well, tell me about, I was at Properties, which is a great company. They're number one in Chicagoland in luxury. He said, tell me a little bit about ad, or why you don't have a lot of stuff about ad on your website. And literally, I couldn't in good faith hype up a company that I knew I was leaving in 2 weeks. I just didn't feel like that was being genuine to him. So I just said, hey, I have to let you know, Robbie, I am switching companies here in a few weeks. And I had no collateral about the company I was moving to, EXP. I had nothing. I couldn't. He asked me what does EXP stood for, and I couldn't even answer that. He ended up hiring me. It was the highest single-family home of EXP in the state of Illinois at the time, and I wasn't even with the company. I had no collateral, and so that's just a good reminder to everybody listening that whether you're with EXP, XYZ, Coldwell Banker, doesn't matter. You are your brand. At the end of the day, you should not have to rely on your company or your company's luxury division to go after those opportunities. That's a limiting belief. You have to think that you are your brand, powered by whoever, right? But you are the brand, okay? And you have to think that one. And then the other one that is a big misconception, Tony, is, hey, I'm in South Lake and there's already 87 luxury agents that are recognized. There's no room for 88. Or, hey, I'm in the Woodlands and there's 376 luxury agents in the Woodlands. There's certainly not room for 377. That's false as well. You own your story. You tell your own story. I do these luxury trainings all across the country. I had a gal at my one that I did in Miami in April, and she was, really stunning, well spoken, dressed really like she was luxury. And uh, and she said, well, Mike, she goes, as a woman and a woman of color, I have a lot more entries of barrier than perhaps you do. And she's right. But I said, take that background and use it as a positive in this case. So I don't care if you're white, you're black, you're female, you're trans, whatever it is, take your story and leverage it and turn a perceived possible negative into a positive. So I worked with her right there on the spot, because she said, what if I was up against Johnny Rockstar, an agent who dominated luxury in that marketplace, and I did not have those sales. I didn't have the track record of selling luxury homes like they did. I said I would turn it into a positive, like, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, thanks for interviewing me. I know you're interviewing another agent that really specializes in this price point or this neighborhood. And, I've had to prove myself my entire career as a female, as a woman of color, or as whatever it is, fill in the blank. As a newer agent, I've had to prove myself. And you give me the opportunity and the same work ethic I've taken to build my business, to overcome the obstacles I've had, to fill in the blank, whatever the fill in the blanks are. Use that in your story. Don't shy away from it. And so, listen, when you interview me and you hire me, you're going to get me. You're not going to get an assistant to an assistant. You're not going to have some agent run over there, open the house that doesn't know the house because the other agent's too busy. You're going to get me. And so that's my recommendation. Turn a perceived negative into a positive. I tell agents, if you're a solo agent, bring somebody in your office, even if they're not on your team, on that listing appointment. If you're a female, bring a male. If you're a male, bring a female. If you're a younger agent, bring a more experienced agent. I tell agents 100% of nothing is nothing, but 50% of something is something. So if you have to co-list a property, I have an agent right now, I'm marketing a Trump Tower in downtown Chicago. It's 1.8 million. She went to my luxury designation training. It's 50-50. She saw the opportunity. 50% of getting a Trump listing in the Trump Tower in the city is a big luxury building, is 50% of opportunity versus 100%. I might not bring Michael, but I might not get it. So think differently. Look just like the mentorship program that many companies have, right? The mentorship program. You're a new agent, you got to give up a piece of the pie because you're going to have a mentor. So think about luxury as who can be your mentor as well.
So no excuses if I'm hearing you, right? No
No.
excuses. Get over the excuses. If you got to dye your own hair gray, dye your hair gray. If they want somebody, get some salt and pepper going, grow a beer, right? Whatever it is. So I love that mentality. As you talk about, you mentioned a few things here, but I want to go back to this branding and telling your story. How do you and how does your team paint this luxury picture or create a brand that really speaks to luxury?
So that's a great question. So so when I've always thought like I've always thought like a marketer, not like a real estate agent. So literally, I mean, when I broke into luxury, one of the first couple things I did was I would do canceled and expired mailers, and I literally would send shredded money. I would send silver platters. I would send bank bags in the mail to canceled and expireds, because when a house went off the market at Monday at noon and they got 60 phone calls by Friday, they might get 6 direct mail pieces in the mail, and most of those, excuse my French, were poor. They were just,
There you
hey,
go.
my name is Mike, hire me, I'm the best thing since sliced bread. Where I would do some standout mailings, some bulk email, and multiple touches, because I knew what a sale was worth to me, and I was willing to outspend my competition because I saw the opportunity. I was hungry. I'll never forget, Tony, my first trophy listing opportunity. It was a $4.5 million canceled and expired that I'd sent something to. And he called me and said, "Hey, can you be at my office at Tuesday?" Well, it was like really the first business day after New Year's Day, and it was negative. Wind chill was like -10 out. I took a train down to the city, and I was supposed to meet with him at, I think, 7 a.m. So I mean, I had to take like the 5:40 train down. Believe me, I wasn't happy about the 5:40 train, and it's cold out. I mean, it was literally freezing out, but I was hungry. I was hungry. I wanted it. I wanted it bad, so I was willing to do it. I went down there, got to his office like 7:10, so I was sweating like I'm going to be late, and I was late, but he didn't show up till like 10:30. His personal manager was calling, the wife was worried, nobody knew where he was. But gosh darn it, I would stay there till 2 p.m. if I had to, because I wanted to show, not that I was desperate, but I was hungry. And
Yeah.
so again, you got to be willing to do the things your competition, um, isn't willing to do, and be likable. At the end of the day, I got a slide I want to share with you. If you were to say one quote that would be uplifting to your audience, and it's like, people would rather do business with someone they like and they trust, Tony, rather than someone they don't. Even if this likable person is offering a lower quality product and service at a higher price. So let me use real estate terminology there. People would rather hire you, Tony, to sell their luxury home because they like you and they trust you. Maybe they golf with you and they realize that you've never sold a luxury home, rather than Rockstar Rick and Rockstar Roxanne, because they seem unapproachable and not likable. Okay. Even if you charge the same as them, that other person. Okay. So just keep that in mind. So I teach agents, of course, to be likable and offer a higher quality product and service.
That's great. That's great. And no shade, Rockstar Rick Carr. He wasn't talking about you. We have actually one of our managing brokers is called Rockstar Rick. So that was
No,
no shade, by the
no,
way.
I like nicknames, and R, so
It goes. It
part-time
goes.
Patty, part-time Paul, Rockstar Roxanne, Rockstar Rick, you
There you
know,
go.
um, analytical Alex, analytical Amy, so I use that though, Tony, when I'm
Yeah.
on a listing appointment, like, I call myself a marketer, right? So Michael, marketer Mike, but there's a lot of passive Pauls and passive Paulines out there, Mr. Seller, that they'll throw your home on the computers and rely on others to sell it. That's passive marketing, where I'm proactive marketing. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, tell stories and tie them into relatable analogies that your clients can uh, identify with.
So we're talking about things that, and as we kind of prepare for this, and the focus being things that our agents can do right now, right? Either right now or take tonight to think it over and then start tomorrow, right? But ideally right now. So as we talk about things you can do right now, I love the fact that you had that, the silver platter, where you're sending, and I used to call it chunky mail. We talked with Jay Kinder a little bit about this a few weeks
Yeah.
ago, and different ideas to really make your marketing pieces stand out. So one of the
Yeah.
things,
So Jay's
yeah,
a
go ahead.
protege. Jay's a great guy, and him and Kinder Reese and Michael Reese, those guys are proteges of a guy that I've been mentored by as well. Got Dan S. Kennedy. He's written a lot of books.
Mhm.
Okay, so I've known Jay and Mike for a decade through those conferences, and so. Um, don't think like a real estate agent, think like a marketer. Take that concept, right? There's 1.6 million realtors. There's Florida's got the most amount of realtors. It used to be California, now they're two, and Texas is third. Everybody knows a real estate agent in the state of Texas. So what are you doing to differentiate yourself from the competition? That's how you got to think. The most listened to radio station, Tony, that prospective buyers and sellers listen to, that people on your Facebook listen to, that people stumble on your website listen to, is what's in it for them. All they care about is, what are you going to do, Tony, to save me time and aggravation? As a broker in the state of Texas, if you're trying to recruit or retain agents, you have to think about that as well. If I'm a team leader or trying to grow an organization, I got to think about, why my group, my organization versus somebody else's, right? So what are you going to do to save them time, aggravation, and make more money?
Yeah. And that's WIIFM if you're listening on your FM dial, right? It's
That's
WIIFM. What's
exactly
in it
right.
for
It's
me? Yeah.
what's in it for me. And the most listened to radio station that you as an agent need to listen to is AAT, all about them. Ask great questions. Listen. We got 2 ears. Listen twice as long as you talk. When you go on a listing appointment and you're asking Tony, why are you and your wife thinking about selling? Don't just start talking. Listen, ask questions, figure out Tony's why. Okay, I'm a big 1 to 10 scale guy. One being, I don't care if it sells in 3 years, I want my price. 10 being, I need it sold yesterday. I like asking 1 to 10s. If I'm interviewing an agent, don't think to join my team. Don't think making more money or passive income is the most important thing. Ask them what the most important thing. It might be culture, it might be training. You can't make assumptions as to what's most important for you, might be also what's most important for them.
So, and a lot of these strategies are they parallel, right? So this goes back to this myth of cracking this quote unquote luxury code, and that there's some kind of magic sauce or this kind of magic thing. These are the same strategies you're using for a low end seller that you're going to use at the high end. So why not do it the smart way? Leverage the prices of the homes in the luxury market. So I want to ask you about this marketing piece as well. So I don't want to stray from that. What is one marketing piece that our agents can utilize right now to reach out to these expireds, as you said, and some of the listings that didn't sell? What's a great marketing strategy that you can instruct or that you can give us to utilize
Well,
going after luxury?
yeah, I'm going to give you 3 huge takeaway strategies here. But before I do that, I want to share this slide with you because I can literally give you. That was easy. I can give you the easy button, Tony, but unless you believe you can do it, you're not going to implement, right? So building a foundation is key. If you build a home in Texas on a weak foundation, or Florida or Illinois, you name the state, there's going to be a lot of repercussions to that, right? There's going to be door jams that don't close or line up properly, cracks, and the worst case, and all water coming in, or the home settling a lot, or collapse, right? That's no different than a real estate agent's business. So here we are in November of 2022, or if you're listening to this down the road, how can you have the best year ever when there's supposed to be some turbulence in the market? Well, I'm going to give those tips here in a minute, Tony, but it doesn't matter unless they believe they can do that. So I tell agents, grow your knowledge and your confidence will grow. If they're more confident, Tony, they'll step out of their comfort zone. If they're more confident, last time I looked in the state of Texas, you can market and sell a home all throughout the state. So, Houston might be 2 hours from Austin, but if I'm in Austin and I have an opportunity to market a $17 million ranch, have car will travel is my philosophy. If you partner up with a local agent that can be there on a short instance, and maybe you give them a piece of the pie, why wouldn't you do that? I have a firm philosophy that my marketing is better than the competition. So if I moved to Tony, to your market, and I didn't know anybody, and I had an opportunity to list a multi-million-dollar property in Dallas that would be 3-hour drive for me, as long as I have access to the MLS and it wouldn't hurt the client from an exposure standpoint, I would partner up with a local agent and I would do it. But I have that knowledge and that confidence to do that, but it happens over time. So what are you listening to as an agent? Who are you surrounding yourself with? I know you're listening to Tony's podcast, which is a great start. You're listening to this, right? So growing your knowledge and your confidence will grow is the key. But let's get back to the question that you asked. And I'm going to look for
Yeah,
that right here.
and as you scroll for that, Mike, one thing I want to say as well. I mean, obviously, you're making my broker bones tingle a little bit as the designated broker for all these agents, right? But we do have to make sure that we are competent in those areas, and that's why I love you said, hey, look, I'm willing to be the marketing expert. Let me get with someone that is competent in this geographical region and partner with them, right? Because as you mentioned, 100% of zero is zero, but 50% of $1 million, $2 million listing,
Yep.
heck, that's a ton of commission. So you want to make sure you're partnering, and always stop by to chat with your broker. Ideally, if that's me, hey, come talk to me. Otherwise, get with your broker and ask, hey, how can we partner up with someone maybe in a different region, a different market, I happen to be a member of 68 different MLSs across the state of Texas. So I'm happy to, put some of those relationships together, but don't hesitate to swing by. EXP agents, of course, you can reach out in our metaverse environment, or you can reach out via workplace chat to any one of our broker teams or to anyone in those markets. So that's one of the really cool things, at least here on this side of the house.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. So, for example, licensed agent, I'm based in Illinois. Uh, I mean, I could sell commercial properties. I could sell, a building. I could sell a big warehouse, but doesn't mean I should do it, right? So,
Yeah.
like in
Yeah.
those scenarios, I'm going to bring on an expert and let them be the lead agent. I might take a referral fee, a larger referral fee, and do some behind the scenes stuff. But yes, you have to think about the consumer first, right? At the end of the
Right.
day, it's a black eye on all of us and doesn't help our industry if you take a listing and you're incompetent about the area and you do a bad job. Not only gives your brokerage but it gives all of us a bad name. And so I do want to make sure that I say that. So although I have car will travel, if I don't feel comfortable enough, I will let somebody else be the lead agent and I'll be behind the scenes. Or if I can't be the lead agent because I'm not in the MLS, of course, I'll do that as well. But if I feel comfortable and it's not going to hurt on an exposure standpoint, then I will do a little travel to take on a property. So
Absolutely.
getting back to your original question, some key takeaways from this. One of the things I teach, it's a concept that and I'm going to go to one slide and come back to this. If you remember from Naughty by Nature from the 1990s, OPP, other people's properties. And so I teach
That's
a
that's
concept.
not what that stood for, though. I'm joking. I'm
Well,
joking. Okay, go ahead.
yeah. So other people's properties. So in this case, the three things that I would recommend that agents do, number one, is attend other agents' broker open houses if you have those in your market, right? Touring or caravans, but every market calls them something different. But literally go in your MLS, figure out where the property tours are for the upper price points, and maybe in those areas that you would desire, but you haven't sold in those areas, but you'd love to sell in those areas. And do that. And then when you go to those other open houses, you'll familiarize yourself with that market and the property and the materials and the luxury homes. And you'll feel more comfortable showing in that price point if you've gone through a lot of those types of properties. So your confidence will grow. Number two, Tony, is if I were to role play and you have a big old luxury home and you're doing a broker tour on Thursday, uh, and I planned on attending, I'd give you a call ahead of time. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Tony, this is Michael Lafido. I know you don't know me that well, but you have this amazing home over on 123 South Lake and Avenue, and I see you're doing a broker tour tomorrow. I'm planning on attending, and a couple things. I wanted to let people know I'm going to attend, and it would be I'm a big believer in win-wins, Tony, and this would be some additional great exposure for you and your property. Do you have a single property website or your personal website with this home that you'd like me to share? Because I want to let people know that I'm attending this. Hopefully I'll get some buyers that come out and raise their hand saying, hey, Mike, show it to me. But it'll be great exposure to you. I'll clearly disclose that it's not my listing and it's yours. And so I'm planning on attending tomorrow, but do you have a website that I can share?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna drop it to you in a text message right after we get off the phone here.
Awesome. So I'm going to pre-market that, Tony. I'll let people know that you're the agent of record. And then I've gotten a lot of good feedback and some good, some really good play and some good leverage on doing a live stream when I'm touring the property tomorrow, whether it be on the outside and the inside. Um, would you have a problem if I did that, if I clearly stated you're a listing agent and gave the address? And so, again, not to mislead people, I'm a big win-win guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a great idea.
So,
I'm
so
too busy
that's
to
an
to really invest in that. So
So that's a great example of how you can leverage other people's properties by attending luxury open houses of broker tours, midweek tours, right? Now you can do the same thing on public open houses as well, or you can host an open house at somebody else's listing. So last summer, Tony, I had an intern for me, Dugan Riley, a guy interned for me here in Chicagoland, and wasn't even taking real estate license when he interned for me, but he thought he was going to. So he started his real estate class at the end of the intern virtually. He went to school on the East Coast. He was probably going to be licensed and moving to Nashville because his girlfriend took a nursing job there. So fast forward to 2022, he graduated college in May, I think 9th or 10th. He moved to Nashville knowing nobody except his girlfriend, a brand new market, on May 12th, brand new licensed agent. 5 months later, he literally has got a 2 point something million dollar listing, a $1.9 million listing. He's done over 15 open houses and $1 million plus, including a 4.5 and a 4.2. He literally, I won't mention the name, but the CEO of a big time mortgage company is looking at 15 million next week, coming in town for the CMAs, the Country Music Awards, and is looking at 6 properties, all of them above $10 million, 3 of which Dugan found him off market properties. Now he's going to buy through these agents he's been working with for years, but Dugan's going to get a huge referral fee. And he was down. He was a little dejected because, oh, they're not going to use me, and I can't tour these homes with them. I go, step back for a second. You're licensed for 5 months. You're going to get a referral fee on a $10 million buyer. Like, do you know how lucky, and not lucky, but how fortunate you are? You've worked so hard in 5 months. Like, looking back, I didn't have this opportunity till 10 years in the industry. Like, you've done it in 5 months thanks to my mentorship and you calling me, asking me questions, but you've worked hard at it. So my point is, this guy has leveraged other people's listings and worked open houses for them. Now in the state of Tennessee, he can work open houses at other brokerages. Now I don't know how it is in Texas and Illinois. I can't do that. It's got to be only within my brokerage.
Thank
Now,
you so much for that's a perfect segue because again, you're making my broker bones tingle a little
yeah,
bit. So yes, now in Texas, it depending on what brokerage you're with. I think the rules do vary, but I know here at EXP, it does need to be an EXP agent, right? That you're hosting that open house for,
okay,
to avoid all kinds of issues. But I'll tell you the other great thing, as I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, is that EXP specifically is the largest independent brokerage in Texas. We have 9,140 agents as of this morning. Okay.
wow,
So, and a lot of them are in luxury. A lot of them are doing listings and listings focus. So I can tell you, you're not going to have a problem with that if you even focus on just internally with your own brokerage, at least here.
good, perfect. So there's got to be 9,000 opportunities out there. Check with, in this case, EXP. And those that are watching and are listening that aren't EXP, check with your broker to see what you can and can't do. That's my CYA, cover my
There
rear
you
end,
go.
because
There
every
you go.
state's different and every brokerage is different. So number one, attend other people's open houses. You'll gain confidence, knowledge of the marketplace. Number two, the other benefit of that, by the way, is if I were to pull up my Facebook here, and this just popped up. If I were to pull up my Facebook, there's some memories there. But if I scroll and I see like a video playing, okay, that was a meme I put up there earlier. But let me see a video. Okay, there's a video right now. Okay, like this guy could be saying, "Hey," and oh no, this is a Houston Astros fan. This is Natasha.
There
She's
we
with
go.
EXP, and she's lighting a candle for Justin Verlander. This is, but anyways, my point is most people by nature, they will have videos on mute, Tony. So let's just say I'm friends with you, Tony, and man, I see you at a cool property and you're touring it, and next week I'm scrolling, I see you at another one. All of a sudden, even though they're on mute and they don't hear you saying, this is not my listing, this is not my listing, this is not my listing, all of a sudden you're starting to build a brand and be known for touring cool properties consistently, Tony. And so that's
Yeah.
helping you build your brand to your database, people that know you, like you, and trust you. So number one, other people's broker open houses. Number two, hosting open houses at other people's listings. Okay. And by the way, if you want to really make it win-winish and no-brainerish, then I would say, hey, Tony, if I were to role play with you, by the way, I know what keeps you awake at night. But before I do that, let's step back. Tony, you and I talk. Let's just say um, I am an agent that has a luxury listing, and you want to host an open house at my luxury listing, and it's been on the market for a while. Okay. What keeps me as a listing agent of a stale property awake at night?
Losing that listing.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting them, stop calling me, stop texting me why it's not selling. Get off my rear end.
Yep.
I don't want to lose this listing, right? Fair
Yeah,
enough.
absolutely.
So knowing that
Every
you're
time
the,
that phone rings and you see it's your seller and you're like, oh my gosh, is he going to fire me today? Is today he's going to fire me?
I have some of those clients, right? The anxiety up the roof, like it's going to be a 20-minute call, repeat, the broken record technique. The market slowed down, doesn't matter what you think it's worth. The market dictates all these conversations we have time and time again. So the second I talked about is hosting an open house at somebody else's property. So now we're going to role play. Tony, you have a nice luxury listing. I know you from the office, not that well. Let's say you don't know me that well. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Tony, it's Mike Lafido from the office. We've met once. I know you probably don't know my name, but I recognize you and I know you're doing some great things. You're a top rock
Hey, cut
star
that out.
agent that I aspire to and
Right.
all this stuff, Tony. And hey, you got this really cool listing over there on Houston Way. And I'm not sure if the sellers are on you about doing something different or when your listing's up. I know it's been on for some time. And I'm all about win-wins, Tony, and I'm looking to host open houses on weekends, and I got young kids that I got to feed, and my pipeline is pretty thin right now, and so I don't know if you want to host open houses, but most agents that of your statute they don't want to, but I would love to host an open house at your listing. NAR shows these statistics, and Zillow and Redfin do as well, but when houses are hosting an open house, they get more clicks and more views in the algorithms than similar price properties that aren't. They like to feature those. And so I'm a big win-win person. And matter of fact, what I'm willing to do is if you would consider allowing me to host an open house at your listing, I'll give you a referral fee for any buyer that comes in that buys a home with me because of your open house. Even if they buy one 6 months down the road, 3 months in another neighborhood, a different price point, I will, as one professional to the other, I'll give you a 25% referral. And anybody, of course, that buys this listing, I'll give you a 33%. I'm making up the statistic, but a
Sure.
33% referral fee if they buy your listing and a 25% if they buy down the road. I want to make it no brainerish. I thought I'd give you, Tony, a call first before I called Teresa from the office, who's got an amazing listing.
Wow. Absolutely. What the heck? Let's do it.
Okay, so win-win. I address the elephant in the room. I'm not sure if the sellers are on you about doing something different outside the box creative. I'm not, I mean, literally, this just happened to me, Tony. I mean, you just don't know. You might get unqualified people through. Absolutely, you might, but you just don't know. Literally, I'm going to pull up a property to show you guys a, a, uh, a property that I'm marketing, and I want to give you a little backstory. It's been on with me for 10 months. Okay. 10 months. Okay. It's been on with me for 10 months. And literally and I'm going to move this over here. Sorry, one second. I want to
No
share it
worries.
with you
And while we're
before.
waiting on Michael to do that, goodness gracious, y'all. If you're finding value in this, I mean, so far I've already got a page full of notes here. But if you're finding value here, make sure you smash that like button, click that subscribe button, as well as the bell notification icon, so that you know the next time we do these. We do these every Wednesday, but sometimes you forget because you're a busy agent, and I get that. That's what the bell is for. Click the subscribe, click the bell. You'll get notified anytime we go live, like we will next Wednesday as well. Wait till you hear about who we have coming up. Go ahead, Mike.
So this is a real life scenario. If you want to pull up on my screen, so I have again, I'm a licensed agent here in Illinois. These are some of the properties we represent, but this property right here, okay, I'm going to click on it. It's 2.25 million. Okay, gorgeous home. I'm the second agent. There's an old adage in real estate, Tony. You want to be the firstborn, the second wife, and the third listing agent.
There
In this
you go.
case, I'm the second listing agent. Hopefully, I can get it sold. But it's 2.25 million. We haven't had in the last 5 months. We probably had 2 showings. Okay, um, and so I said to the seller, "Hey, Mr. Seller, I'm going to present something to you that's outside the box. Your initial reaction is going to be no, but he has shared with me that he's bought another place. They have a place in Florida, a place in Colorado. He's out in California. And so he's not back that often. And so although it's still furnished, um, he's not living there, so it wouldn't be as big of an inconvenience that he'd have to vacate for Sunday if I were to do open house. But I said to him, hey, in this case, Nick, hey, Nick, I want to share with you something. We haven't had much activity, so there's not a lot of risk in what I'm about to present to you, especially if you put away valuables and there's no loose things up. But I'd love to host an open house this weekend to you. Now I know 90% of people, this neighborhood, the average sale price is 550 to 650. This is a teardown, was rebuilt 10 years ago. And so again, people looking in this neighborhood are looking 550 to 650, Tony. So I said, I realize 90% of people that come through this open house are going to be nosy neighbors or unqualified. But we might pull a Chicago buyer because most people in the $2 million plus price point in Wheaton, Illinois, Naperville, Illinois, all the surrounding communities are not doing an open house. Now, Einstein says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So while our competition isn't hosting an open house on a weekend, that might be a reason that we should. And so we might pull a buyer that's looking in Naperville, Glen Ellen, Hinsdale, but nobody's doing an open house and say, I don't know much about Wheaton, Illinois, but this house looks pretty cool and it checks off a lot of our boxes. Why don't we drive out there on Sunday? We got not a whole lot to lose. We're not inconveniencing anybody. So I did this, and we had 10 people come through, and I had 3. I would say you can't judge a book by its cover. Matter of fact, I do a live stream just like you do, Tony, and every Friday, it's called Luxury Fridays. It's at 11 a.m. Central. You can go to luxuryfridays.com, And the reason I share that with you, Tony, is I have a guy that I met, a real estate agent that I met at a conference, and he's going to talk about how he's got a client that's bought and sold multiple $1 million homes with him. And it was a floor call. Remember the old floor calls that come in? And nobody wanted to touch this buyer because he had a name like Precious Ruby. I'm making it up. And everybody thought this is a BS buyer. It's a fake name. Nobody wanted him. This guy who was hungry said, I'll work with them. Turns out he was a legitimate buyer. So you cannot judge a book by its cover in real estate. You never want to prejudge somebody if they're qualified or not. That's a good, fair housing reminder to everybody. But in this case, I had 3 buyers that seemed qualified by the fact that they were 55 to 60-year-old. I don't know why they'd be making up stories that they were looking at other homes. They were thinking about building. Turns out 2 of them I know were legitimate because they came back a second time, one with their agent, the other unrepresented, and they sent me proof of funds. And so I share that with you because it was outside the box. It was unconventional. Getting back to our role-playing story. Our role-playing story would be, again, the referral fee and everything else. So if I host an open house at your listing, Tony, I would cheerfully give you a referral fee. And so you can have these conversations. So that's number 1 is other people's broker open houses. Number 2 is host other open houses. And the third big nugget that I want to share with everybody is that you should post about funny, humorous postings, okay, when they come out. Okay, humor with luxury real estate. Or maybe there was a rock star, Elizabeth Riley, who's not in my market, had a rock star sale in Austin. Post about it. Or heck, Michael Lafido just sold Khalil Mack's home as a Chicago Bear, which I did last year. Post about it. So by subconsciously you posting other people's record sales in other markets, especially if you know where people are moving to and from, okay, reverse migration, we call that, okay, then subconsciously your database realizes that, well, Mike might only be licensed in Illinois, but he posted about this person in Austin or Nashville or Miami. You got to know where your feeder markets are. And if you post a lot about that, hello, we're one of the few industries where we can cheerfully take on a 25% referral fee. But if you weekly post about luxury mansions or even celebrity mansions, cool properties that are on the market, you are continuing to build your brand. Okay. A picture is worth 1,000 words. We use this term. And so I have this next image that you'll see is what I call a Polaroid, the old Kodak camera Polaroid. You take a picture Okay. You need to create Polaroids in your market. So, like, if you have a record sale, okay, have an image. You can go on Canva and create an image like this for free. You used to have to spend $5 on Fiverr.com. Now you go for free. Okay. So maybe you didn't have a record sale, but somebody in your market did, with their permission, of course. Leverage it. Okay. So this was a house that I sold, the highest sale ever. This was a home that I sold. I represented the seller. It sold for 200 grand above asking price. So leveraging other people's properties is important, but don't think like a real estate agent. Think like a marketer is one of the things I want to share with you. And the other thing I want to share with you, give me 1 second, is I talk about mindset. But if I were to say garbage in, Tony, garbage
out.
okay, and that's what 99.9%, and you fell for the trap there, Tony. I say garbage in, unfortunately, garbage stays. Think about it. What you focus on expands. If the media is doom and gloom, you're gonna be doom and gloom. Okay? Turn off the news. They want to divide you. It's constant negative news. It's what you focus on expands. We have to be careful how we talk to ourselves, Tony, because we are listening to each other. Okay, so what you focus on expands. If you think you're going to have your best year ever, you're right. If you think, oh, I'm going to have a terrible year, you're right. It's why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It's a cycle. Tony Robbins talks about the cycle. Okay, you got to get yourself out of the cycle, and part of the reason you get out of your cycle is by what you focus on expand. So I want to make sure I cover that on today's training, and I'll open it up for some additional questions for
Really,
you.
I have just one more question. I
Yeah.
just one before, and I want to close out with. I know that you're actually going to be teaching this incredible luxury designation class, so I want to maybe end on that. But my final question for you is the reason why probably 90% of the people came onto this podcast today, and that is if you, the incredible Michael Lafido, had to start a luxury real estate business over tomorrow. You lost everything, lost all your contacts, lost your social media, lost your presence, lost your branding, started over from scratch in a brand new market. You want to go out and get your first $10 million listings. What do you do tomorrow morning? How do you build
Yeah.
that brand back up?
So I would leverage other people's successes, number one. And so for me, we have this Lux network in our designation. I would leverage other people within my networks, listings and sales, other people's properties, right? That would be number one. Number two, I would uh, I would consistently go to where the money is, right? So what I mean by that, you're networking. I would be a chamber of commerce in Westlake and Southlake and the Woodlands. I would go to the chamber meetings and meet business owners. Hello, the business owners know people. Okay, and so if you bring value to them and you ask them, hey, Tony, you got a lot of contacts, how can I be of service to you? How can I help your company? How can I help you get more clients? Like, don't just tell them what they want to hear, but be authentic with it. Naturally you'll be top of mind awareness, right? And they'll want to reciprocate that to you with referrals or introductions. So bringing value to these people is number. And then number three is, success leaves clues. Tony Robbins says success leaves clues. So what are you listening to? Who are you focusing on? Okay, that is something that I would recommend. I have on
I love that.
on the screen right now ways people can be in contact with me, including my email address, some of our websites, including my Luxury Fridays, which is a live stream, okay, and my social media, my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube channel. Just like Tony said, if you go to YouTube, Marketing Luxury Group, hit that red subscribe. I do my weekly live streams. You'll be notified when we do those. But Tony, you did bring up something. I am coming to Houston. Um, it's literally 3 hours. It's 6 hours training. You're going to get 6 hours of CE and $300 off, and over $2,000 in bonuses if they go to luxurydesignation.com. Now, Tony, you might say, well, Mike, I have a conflict. I can't be there on the 15th, or I don't want to drive to Houston. Well, I would still tell you to sign up. If you sign up at luxurydesignation.com, we literally will ship you your video book and your book and your objection handling playing cards and over the $2,000 in bonus items that are listed on the website. We'll send them in the mail to you along with some group coaching we've offered and some other items. If you were to go to my main website, you would pay $597 for this today, and you would not get any of these bonus items. You're going to get all those bonus items, plus you're still going to get access to our online Lux University, Tony. A couple things that I'm a big believer in sharing stories. So first off, there was a gal that attended my event. You might know EXP, okay? You might know this young lady right here, okay? Tanya Chambers, okay?
Yeah.
That's her business card. She's with EXP. She's out
Yeah.
of Fredericksburg, Texas. She hosted my designation training in February. In February, what happened was in February, she had our event, and Tony, I have an agent who I'm going to bring on our Luxury Fridays coming up called Tammy Manning. You might know Tammy.
Yeah.
She's with EXP. Tammy, before she took my training in February, in her 4-year career, has sold 2 properties of $1.7 million and above. That's not bad. That's better than most.
Not not bad at all. I think you can get by on that.
Yeah, that's better than me in my first 4 years. I can tell you that. Since taking our course 6 months ago, she sold 6, and she credits our course to that. And so I share that with you. If you, as a team leader, want to increase your average sale price for your team, this is not a sales pitch. I hope I brought value, Tony. You said you took, so I'm spending 3 minutes here out of an hour to just let people know about this opportunity. They can go to luxurydesignation.com, luxury designation. I've provided some great free resources right here. If you guys just want to connect with me, it's on the screen right now. This is how you can connect with me. Some great free resources are on the screen. Luxury Fridays, okay, and then my social media. I give free content consistently, but if you want to really differentiate yourself, consider that designation by going to luxurydesignation.com. Now, what other questions that you were hoping that I covered, Tony, that maybe I didn't, or did I cover it?
I think you hit everything on the head. I mean, I think that the all-purpose final question is, what didn't I ask, or what do you want to leave us with, right? What's the most common question that you get asked that we didn't ask you?
Well, so I guess I'll leave you with this. If you are a rockstar luxury agent, leverage that, right? Leverage that. So, for example, I have a $2.5 million home that I'm putting on the market next week. I like going first on the listing appointment. I like setting the bar so high, Tony, that they're going to compare everybody else to me. Um, but I do like knowing who else they're interviewing. And I address the elephant in the room. Tony, there's probably a lot of factors for you that you are deciding on who's best to market your home. But probably one of those factors is results and experience. And so I've been doing this for 22 years. Okay. I have the results that in all price points. And so then I like knowing who they're up against. But I usually set the bar by saying, don't tell me the agent, but just let me know what other brokerage you're interviewing. So if they say Douglas Elliman, if they say Sotheby's, if they say Compass or XYZ, Remax, doesn't matter. At least I know who I'm up against, because I need to know what the unique value proposition for my team is, but also for EXP. But I also should be aware of what the unique value proposition is for the competition. And we never badmouth the competition. But what we do is we prepare our appointment based on who else they're talking to. So if I know they're up against a company that's really big on technology and they think technology and tech, I'm going to talk about what we do with tech. So I am being proactive versus reactive, because you never want to lose a listing appointment or a buyer based on, oh, shoot, I wish I would have covered this. Okay. So you as an agent have to have a unique value proposition. You might be an EXP agent and you're up against another EXP agent. And if you just talk about EXP, and I go in there and I really talk about what makes me different and unique as an agent, they're going to hire me. So again, you have to have a unique value proposition for you.
That's great. That's I think those are words to end on. Thank you so much again, Mike. You've been incredible. Thank you for the added bonuses and values. And I'll say this, because I'm not a big proponent of designations, right? And I down talk them a lot, right? And because the reality is, most of your clients, most of your sellers, you go into an appointment, they don't know what that stuff is, and I'm probably getting in trouble with NAR, right? But hey,
Oh,
in most cases, your clients don't know what that stuff means. The exception to that, I will say that there are very few and limited exceptions to that, and a luxury designation when you're going into a luxury listing, that is possibly one exception to that rule, right? Because it does build value. But and I will say the other thing about designations is more important than the little names, the little numbers or letters that go after your name.
yeah,
The most important thing is the actual knowledge that you're getting in that class. That's the most important thing. So I'm not knocking the classes.
yeah.
And then the other thing is the application, right? So it's about the knowledge you get while you're there. And the most important thing is the applied knowledge when you start actually putting that stuff into action. So I'm all for it.
Yeah,
I
no,
support it.
you're
Yeah.
right, Tony. There's a lot of designations out there that the general public, even financial advisors, have those little letters behind them that you and
What does
I
that
don't
mean?
know what the heck they are. Matter of fact, that's why when we launched ours, is Lux for short. If you put Tony Keen Lux, they don't know what the heck Lux stands for, but they know it's luxury, right? So there's
Right.
that
Right.
subconscious. But you're right, the network, having the tools and resources, and it's just like anything else, being able to leverage your story. I'm a Coors
Right.
Light guy versus Bud Light or Miller Light, and Coors Light in their commercials, they describe their process. It's probably the same process as Bud Light and Miller Light, but they uniquely describe it, right? So you have to have a unique value proposition for you and your company, but you got to be a great storyteller. And by storyteller, I'm not talking BSer. I'm talking being able to articulate the value add that you bring to the table.
Absolutely. And your own personal brand, right? When you're walking into that appointment, how are you differentiating yourself? So wonderful. Thank you so much again, Mike. You've been incredible. Everyone else, I'm going to say it again. I know you get sick of me, but I'm going to say it. Like, share, subscribe, click the bell. If you haven't done that yet, I don't know what you're doing, right? If you enjoyed this content, let us know that. Drop it in the chat. Let us know what else you want to hear, what else you want to see from us. There it is. I
Yeah,
got to
don't
get
be
me one of them.
afraid to
Will you
ask
send me
for a
one of those?
like, Tony. You're bringing value. Don't be afraid to, because you know
That's
what?
right.
As real estate agents, if you've done a great job for your buyers and your sellers, you should not be embarrassed to ask. Matter of fact, you should tell them, hey, Tony, I'm not going to ask you for a referral or a recommendation unless I'm a 5 out of 5, unless I've delivered. Same thing with the audience. If you guys are getting value from Tony, he shouldn't have to ask you for a like or subscribe. That should be reciprocal.
I'm gonna carry you with me everywhere I go. I might record that and play that every time. So thank you so much, Mike. Again, everyone else have a wonderful Wednesday, and we'll see y'all next week.